If you want to make more money, there is usually going to be a trade-off. Either you're going to have to spend your money or your time to get a decent return. However, there are quite a few low-hanging fruits you can pick first if you want to make some extra cash. And in this video, I'm not going to touch upon anything like starting a side business, for example. That is going to be a really interesting topic in and of itself, but for another video, since it requires quite a lot of effort to do so and is beyond the scope of this video. So if you are interested in that, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button. The first one is to ask for a raise or switch jobs. This may seem obvious, but why not get paid more to do the same amount of work? A good rule of thumb here is asking for a raise after 1 or maximum 2 years at a new employer. After that time, you are usually up to speed with your new job, and if you are performing well, then you are therefore also generating more money for your employer. So in this case, it isn't unfair to ask for a raise to compensate for your increase in performance compared to when you just started. Also, if you're young, then it is a good idea to switch jobs every now and then. The sad reality is that especially when you're young, it is more beneficial to job hop every 2 years to get ahead in wage. If you are already employed, then you can use that as leverage for your next employer and just slap 10% on top of your wage as your new minimum. Because why would you switch otherwise towards a new job if your wage isn't going to increase? I mean, that's just silly. Although personally, I wouldn't switch just for a higher wage alone. It's not worth it. I mean, you need to take into account every other facet of the job. If you are completely bored of your job, then of course switch and make sure you have a higher wage. But otherwise, just for a higher wage, I wouldn't switch jobs. But that's my personal opinion. Pro tip here, if you are in negotiations with a new employer, then it is a good idea to pull a reverse Uno card on them whenever they ask for your wage expectations. Instead of simply answering and giving the number that you want, ask what they will pay for the job. That way you have a better estimate of what the role will pay or what they can pay, and you can adjust your wage expectations according to that. Maybe you are otherwise leaving a lot of money on the table simply by giving your wage expectations, and you can be damn sure that they're just going to give you what you want instead of what you could get. I might do a future video about getting hired and wage negotiations in the future if you are interested in this, since I work in HR, I still do, and I worked in a recruiting role for over 2 years, so I have some insights on this topic. So if that is something that you guys are interested in, let me know in the comments down below and I will make a video about it. The second one is investing. Investing is the most easy source of passive or extra income that you can possibly get. With investing in dividend-paying stocks, bonds, or whatever, you can see money literally being deposited into your account every month, every few years, or every year, depending on when the stock payout or dividend payout is, of course. Again, this is by far the easiest form of passive income or getting an extra income, but you do need to have a large capital to actually make it worthwhile. Third, sell stuff you no longer use. If you have stuff that you no longer use, why not sell it instead of it gathering dust somewhere in your basement or your attic or whatever? It's better to just sell it and get rid of it in the first place. Chances are, if you sell it earlier, you might even get a lot more money for it back in return than when you decide to let it gather dust for 5 to 6 years and then suddenly want to sell it. To give an example, I recently upgraded my computer screen due to circumstances, and my old computer screen, I was no longer going to use it, and otherwise it was already gathering dust for over a month, so I just decided to sell it. And while it was only 2 years old, I still was able to get 90 euros for it, even though it cost me 180 2 years ago, but still I got 90 euros for it. Had I waited another 2 years for it, I probably would have gotten a lot less. The same goes for when the guy eventually came to pick it up. I said, do you want to have some extra music boxes with it? And he said yes. And those were already gathering dust here for over 5 to 6 months. And I still got over 20 euros for them. So for me, it's a nice deal because I got rid of my old stuff that I don't have to move, and I don't have to store somewhere because they were no longer being used, and he got a great deal because he had some pretty cool new hardware for a relatively low price. And again, it doesn't have to be electronics. I mean, you'd be surprised what people still want to buy secondhand, be it a sofa or some chairs or children's toys or something of the sort. You can sell basically everything besides maybe clothing, although even clothing you can sell secondhand. But for most of these things you can still get, I mean, you're not going to get rich of it obviously, but you can still get some tens or 15, 20 euros for it. I mean, it's still something. And especially here in Europe, when you want to clean up your space and you want to remove everything, in most cases when you want to get rid of stuff, you have to go to a recycling center and you actually have to pay to get rid of it. So in those cases, it's way better to just put them on a second-hand website and sell those types of things or sell those things. So you don't have to pay for them and you can even still get some money in return. So in my book, it's a win-win. The only thing you have to do is put in a little effort to put them online, but I don't think that's too much to manage. Fourth, rent out your stuff. This ties in a little bit to the previous point, but besides Airbnb-ing your home, which has already been discussed to death, so I'm not going to touch upon it here, but you can also rent out or rent pretty much anything. I've looked up online, and even in my region where I live, I could already find 5 to 6 websites which offer the exact same services, where other people just rent out different things that they own for a fixed fee, usually a fixed fee per day. And this actually makes quite a lot of sense in certain situations. For example, say you want to host a barbecue for your whole family in your garden, but you only have, I don't know, 6 chairs and a table, so not enough for your whole family to sit at. So what are you going to do? Well, you can rent out, or no, you can rent a table or an extra table or two with a couple chairs, pay a few euros, and afterwards just bring them back and you're done. Or rent a barbecue for the event. So you don't have to purchase those things, and especially not store them as well, since they can also take up quite a bit of space for the few times a year that you use them. The same, for example, goes for a hedge saw. I mean, you're only going to use that once, maybe twice a year, and it can cost quite a bit of money. So why not rent those things for a few tenors for a few days? So in this case, it might make quite a lot of sense to check out these websites, see what's popular, and see if you can rent out those items yourself. Be it a barbecue or some electronics, I don't know. The prices vary, of course, depending on the object, but it's a good way to earn some extra cash. There is always the chance that your items, however, get damaged when you loan them out, so you do have to take that into account. Number 5, becoming a donor or participate in clinical trials. Donating blood or plasma is a really nice gesture in and of itself for the community, so please do so. And it can pay a bit of money on the side. However, here in Belgium, it's one of the exceptions where you basically get paid a couple movie tickets after you went donating plasma or blood a couple times. So it's something, and you're not going to get rich of it, but it's a nice added bonus. And also it requires little to no effort, you just need to sit there for half an hour. However, besides donating all your bodily fluids, there is one other thing that you can do, and that is to participate in clinical trials, at your own risk, of course. A friend I know has some experience with this. Basically, before a new medicine gets approved for general use, it has to be tested on humans, but that is already after all the other trials and testings that they did before, even on animals. So before they even can administer a medicine to a human, it's already really, really safe. I mean, there is still some risk involved, but in most cases it's rather harmless. For example, the test that my friend went through was basically for a new type of pain relief medicine. So it's not always that dangerous or that dangerous of a thing. So what he had to do was go through some tests before the research started, had to turn up to the hospital every now and then gets administered the medicine or a placebo. You don't know which is going to be which. After which they monitor you every now and then to see the results. That's basically it. The flip side of this is that he got paid about 2,000 euros to do so. So, a rather large amount of money. The thing is though that it depends a lot on the types of study that is conducted, and especially the amount of times that you need to be in the hospital or even for an overnight stay. Depending on that, the amount may vary a lot, and I've seen some research trials where they offer about 4,000 each. So, but those are usually for longer types of studies. So it does require some time commitment to do so, and you need to be available for those specific days to be in the hospital or be at the research center, whatever. So it will depend a little bit, but the thing is that it can earn a lot of money for relatively low effort or danger. The flip side of the coin is that you need to be available during specific time intervals and also sometimes even for overnight stays. The more you need to do overnights or check into the hospital, or the longer the study, the more it will pay out, of course. Side note, you cannot use alcohol or any other substances during the study. Either way, if you decide to do this, please do read the fine print to consider all the potential risks of participating in a study like this. And before a medicine can enter human trials, there has already been done a lot of research, so they know it is relatively safe. But again, it's not completely risk-free either. I mean, the chances of being eaten by an angry poodle are very low, but never zero. 6. Sell a skill or service. If you already know a language, or you are very good at maths, or you know how to play an instrument, then you can go straight into tutoring and teach that skill to someone else and ask for money in return. Even if you think you don't already have a skill that you can still sell a service. So, for example, you can start mowing lawns and get some extra money that way, or do some other gardening work. And here is a bonus one: just save more. If you are able to save more, that means that you don't need to spend as much. So that also means that you don't need to earn more to do so. So in most cases, it's actually better to just cut down on your spending, and it's also a lot easier than to start earning more. There is no point in earning 500 euros a month more if all you're going to do with it is buy a fancy car. I mean, if that's what you want, then of course, but if it's your goal to become financially independent, then it is better to just start cutting back on spending. I hope this video was of some use to you. If it was, then leave a like and subscribe. And otherwise, if you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. And then I hope to see you next time. Bye.